Do you believe that extraterrestrial intelligence has visited planet Earth?
I think you can go a step further. It hasn't just visited, it's been here a long time, and it's still here.
That's Stanford professor Dr. Garry Nolan, who just let it fly on the main stage of the SALT Forum on May 18th. And he even went on to assign a probability of his belief in the statement that he just made, which was
100%. And that's not just my opinion.
But later in this speech, and as well as on Twitter, he clarified this statement by stating that he's not an insider and that his opinion is just an anecdote, and that it's the US government's recent actions related to UAPs that carry a lot more weight than his words.
Well, I think the most compelling evidence is you just need to look at what your government is doing right now about it. I mean, just go and look at the number of politicians, and this is interesting, on both sides of the aisle who have come together and signed off on this statement.
But some other respected voices in the UFO community are concerned that Garry's being taken for a ride. Of note and concern are the following statements.
I was working with a group about 7-8 years ago, and I literally got within a few weeks of gaining access to one of the objects. And when the people who didn't want us to gain access to it found out about it, they pulled some bureaucratic administrative tricks and snatched it away.
Those comments, according to Eric Weinstein, sound very similar to the Lucy in the football pattern that he himself and 3 other visible PhDs have experienced. And here's a few components of that bizarre pattern that he's listed. But I speculate that Eric's observations combined with Garry's appearance at an event that puts thought leaders in front of potential investors could also indicate another pattern and another explanation for this bizarre and repeatable pattern by the US government. Maybe the government has been dangling carrots in front of these PhDs in hopes that it would embolden them to take the reins and take the initiative to independently collect the data required to conclusively answer the question, are we alone? Think about it like a parent trying to teach their kid how to ride a bike, by holding on just long enough for the child to feel confident that they can go it alone. And if something like this is actually happening, it would absolutely shift the focus away from 75 years of the government's obfuscation and redirect the constant calls from the public for them to go open kimono. It would also be a great opportunity for the current government to divorce themselves from their past, because they could further prevent the release of any of their information by claiming national security concerns. And let's face it, disclosure is pretty much a no-win situation for the government. Because if they do it, they'll be viewed as villains for withholding the truth from us for so long. But if civilians bring about disclosure, they'll absolutely be viewed as heroes. So what could this hero's journey look like going forward?
Well, what happens next is, what you're actually seeing is what's happening next is the professionalization of this, right? It's not just me. I have many now scientists with whom I'm working.
Professionalization.
We want to get the brightest minds on this. I think maybe you and I share this. Let's go. Let's do it.
I think you need to bring together, this is the part of this professionalization.
Yeah.
You need to bring together the right set of, basically, frankly, anthropologists and sociologists. How do we talk about the fact that we're not at the top of the intellectual food chain, first of all? How do you deal with the religions?
Which is yet another reason for the government to avoid being the ones that bring about disclosure. Separation of church and state. Because if they did disclose, all of the world's religions would come to them asking tough questions that they would have no desire to answer, nor would they be qualified. But go check out the full interview for yourself and let me know what you think.